Chaim. Correct. So we find ourselves not now in a time period known as the Omer. Why is it called the Omer? Because the second day of Pesach, there was a special sacrifice that was brought to thank Hashem for the new wheat. And they would bring one measure, one Omer. An Omer is a certain measurement of flour from the new wheat to the Beis Hamikdash.
Is it like this big?
Well, we're going to discuss soon exactly how big it is.
Really?
But Omer is a certain measurement.
Yes.
And we're going to discuss during the class why do we have this measurement and what's the purpose of this measurement. But there are many other sacrifices that are brought in the Beis Hamikdash, right? On the Erev Pesach, we bring a 1-year-old lamb. But we don't call it the 1-year-old lamb sacrifice, right? We don't call it the lamb sacrifice. We don't call it the 1-year-old sacrifice. We call it the Pesach sacrifice because the purpose of the sacrifice is to celebrate Pesach. So when it comes to the sacrifice that's brought the second day of Pesach, where we thank Hashem for the new wheat,
Does it have to be exactly 1 year old?
The new wheat sacrifice, right?
How do you say
Instead, we don't call it. We can call it carbon chadash, right? Because it allows us to eat the new wheat. So why on Shavuos we actually have mincha chadash, right? So it should have been a similar name for the Pesach carbon, right? On Pesach we bring from the new barley, on Shavuos we bring from the new wheat. So it could have been a name that corresponds to the fact that it's the new grain, but instead we call it by the measurement that's used. Since they use the Omer of flour, so we call it the Omer sacrifice. And it's even more strange when you realize that every single flour sacrifice that was brought into Beis Hamikdash every single carbon mincha was actually usually an Omer. Either one Omer, sometimes 2 Omers or 3 Omers. But throughout the Torah, we don't use the word Omer to refer to this measurement. We use the Omer happens to be 1/10 of an ephah. So we call it throughout the Torah an isarin. Isarin means a tenth.
How big is that?
What?
How big is that?
We call it a tenth. Omer is the amount of, we're going to discuss soon, Omer is the amount of food that a person eats in one day.
Really?
So it doesnmay mean like a person who eats this much chips like we have over here. It's like a normal portion size.
You mean like what I eat?
Well, maybe what you eat or what an adult eats.
Like 1 ounce.
Maybe what I'm eating right now.
Maybe, but it's 3 meals. It's not just 1 meal. So throughout the Torah, this measurement is known as an isarin, which is
I'll eat it 3 times.
which means 1/10, because it's a tenth of an ephah. An ephah was the standard measurement to measure volume used in those days. So it was called a tenth of an ephah, an isarin. But for some reason, by this sacrifice, the Torah comes up with a new name. Instead of calling it a tenth of an ephah, it calls it an Omer. And not only that, the whole sacrifice is called an Omer. Not only is the whole sacrifice called the carbon Omer, but the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos becomes the Omer period. So the question is, why do we first of all, why do we call it after the measurement? Why do we change the name of the measurement? And why does the whole time period refer to by the name of this measurement?
And why is it 49 days?
So in the city of Chernobyl, there lived the great tzaddik, Rab Mordechai Twersky, known as Rab Motl of Chernobyl, and a chassid of his once came to Rab Motl of Chernobyl, and when they were talking, Rab Motl asked him, to tell him a little bit about his daily schedule. Right? He was he would go to the market every day to buy and sell things. So he told Rab Motl that he gets up every day early in the morning, right? As soon as he gets up, he says Meidani, he washes his hands, he says brachis, and then he rushes off to the market to buy some merchandise. He wants to buy some food, to buy some stuff, and then he could sell it later. So and then after he finishes buying all the merchandise, he goes to shul, and then he goes back to sell it later on. So Rab Motl tells him, you're not supposed to do business before davening. Why don't you go to the market after you finish davening? And then you could buy all the merchandise, right? So he says, I won't get any good deals if I come late. The farmers, they get up really early, right? They're there at, they're there. They get up before sunrise even, and they're waiting there. And if I wait till davening is over, right? I guess the davening in his town didn't happen that early. Didn't have any nets minyanim maybe. If I go to shul, by the time I come back, there won't be any deals. So he says to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe says to him, let me tell you a story. There was once this businessman who decided to travel to the big fair, to the big markets, to purchase merchandise. And he saved up and he borrowed a good deal of money. And he was able to put together 12 gold coins. 12 gold coins. He would use, of course. You know how much a gold coin costs? How much does the gold coin cost today?
2,500 an ounce.
Okay, so it's, it could be $2,500, $2,500,
So
3,000 dollars each one. So 2.5 is about $30,000, right?
Make a down payment on that.
Yeah, before it used to be like a
Good
billion.
deal of money, and in those days, people weren't as rich as they are today. That was a good sum of money. Now, of course, he also had to trip ahead of him, so he took a few kopecks, a few copper coins with him. A few copper coins with him for the trip, right? Just for the expenses of the trip. He took a few copper coins with him, and he set out to Leipzig, to the big fair. And he's traveling for a couple of days, and it's Friday, and Shabbos is coming soon. He has to find a place to stay for Shabbos, so he finds a little inn on the side of the road, and now he has a problem. What's he going to do with his money? What's he going to do with his money? He has 12 gold coins. It's a lot of money. So what? There's the inn doesn't have any safes. He's thinking, what should he do? Doesn't know anybody. There's nobody he can trust over here. He doesn't know anybody in this town. Should he give it to the innkeeper? Usually that's what people do if they have something to watch. They give it to the innkeeper. He doesn't know if he can trust the guy. He starts speaking to the innkeeper. The innkeeper seems like a nice guy. He seems like a trustworthy person. Okay, he has no choice. He'll take a chance. So he approaches the innkeeper before Shabbos, and he says, listen, you brought with me a lot of money, and I was wondering if you can watch it for me, if you could put it in a safe place until after Shabbos. The innkeeper says, of course. What?
You trying to think about the story and then ask us a question?
Well, he didn't end up doing it. It could be it was too close to Shabbos. I don't know if there were other people who he trusted in the area. So he goes to the innkeeper and he asks him to hold his money. He gives him the 12 gold coins and a few pennies he brought with him for the trip. And then he goes to shul. He comes on the way to shul. He starts getting nervous. Where's my money? Where's my money? Am I going to get my money back? I saved up this money all year. I borrowed money. Am I going to get my money back? The whole Shabbos, he's nervous. He's trying to put it out of his mind. He knows Shabbos, you're not supposed to worry about your money. You're not supposed to worry about your business. You're supposed to trust in Hashem. Okay, fine. He's trying to be happy on Shabbos. The whole Shabbos, he's nervous. Finally, the second Shabbos is over. He makes, Baruch HaMavdil. He rushes to do Havdalah. He rushes to the innkeeper and he's like, you have my money. And he's like, yeah, sure. I got daven first. I'm gonna make Havdalah. I'm gonna come. No, we have to get the money right away. Right. He wants to see his money. Fine. The innkeeper, finishes davening, comes home. He makes Havdalah. Then he goes to the safe and he pulls out the bag. And he grabs the bag. Right. He wants to make sure none of the money's missing. Right. So he's all nervous. He looks in. He counts. He takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 gold coins. His face lights up. Suddenly he goes, one second. He turns the bag over and he starts counting through the pennies. And the innkeeper's like, what's going on? He's like, I want to make sure he didn't take any of my pennies. Right? So the Rebbe turns to the chassid and he says, what do you think about this guy? And he says, well, he's a bit of a fool. If he got his 12 gold coins, he should be happy. He shouldn't worry about his pennies, right? Obviously, the innkeeper is a trustworthy person. So he says, well, every morning you get up and you thank Hashem. You say, Moida ani lefanecha, for giving me back my soul, my neshama, giving me my life. You get up, you make a series of blessings to Hashem for creating this world, for giving us the energy to get up in the morning, for giving us our clothes, for giving us, we make a blessing of every aspect of our lives, right? And after Hashem created the whole world for you, He gave you back your neshama in the morning. You're worried about this, the wheat that you're going to buy in the market. That's what you're worried about, right? If you could trust Hashem to create the world and give you back your neshama, you could trust Him also to find you parnasa if you go to shul first.
I think I should find an early meeting. Because then you wait till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm sure he tried to find the earliest minyan. The Rebbe didn't tell him he has to daven late, but you have to realize that a person who davens, who learns Torah, who does the mitzvahs of Hashem, he could rely on Hashem to give him what he needs. The Rebbe Marash had a chassid Shol Ber Kabakov. He was a successful lumber merchant from the city of Minsk, and he was once on a business trip, and he was meeting with this prominent Russian nobleman who owned a big forest, and we wanted to close a big deal to buy to buy the lumber, all the trees, all the wood from one of his forests. And as he's traveling to meet this nobleman, right, he's waiting he gets to the train station, and he's told, where's this? He's told that the train is going to be delayed. Okay, the train is going to be delayed, so he has to wait here for another few hours for the next till the train actually goes, and not for another few hours. He has to wait another hour till the train leaves. So so he looks at his watch and he sees it's time to daven mincha. So he goes to the shul to daven mincha. And one of his partners tells him, the way you daven, if you go to shul to daven mincha, you're not going to make the train. It's only delayed by 1 hour. You're not going to be back in time. And he's like, what do you mean? It's time to daven mincha. Well, I'm not worried about the train now, right? So he goes to shul and he davens, and the whole minyan finishes, but the Shol Ber is still davening, barichas. And finally, by the time he finished davening and he came back to the train station, this train had already left. Right? And his partner turns to him and he's like, you messed up. Now we're going to miss our meeting. It was a very important business deal. And he says, okay, we'll wait for the next train. And we'll go on the next train. The next train is coming in 2 hours. We'll go on the next train.
That was my
I guess I'm not sure if it will be time for Ma'ariv yet, but we'll go on the next train. Fine. They wait another 2 hours for the next train. And as the next train is about to pull up, as the next train pulls up, who gets off the next train? This nobleman who they were supposed to meet. Apparently, as the train was going back and forth between the two cities, he had come on the next train. And Shol Ber tells him, what are you doing here? We're supposed to meet you in the next town. He says, yeah, but when I saw you didn't come, I came to you. I know I know where you are. So I came to you. This is a very important deal. I don't want to miss out on it. Shol Ber turns to his partner. He's like, I think if he's running after us, if he's taking the train to get here, we could probably get a good discount on this lumber. He said, listen, I'm not so sure. You charged us last year. You overcharged us a bit. I was thinking maybe this year you could lower the price 40-50%. And he was like, sure, no problem for you. You're one of my best customers. He just gives it them for half the price. Right? So there are times when we think that that we have an opportunity, we have a choice to make, right? We have an important business deal, we have our parnasa to worry about, and then we have a choice. We also we have a mitzvah that we need to do. And we have to realize that our business, all the work that we put in is a tool that we use to get the blessing from Hashem. There's no possible way that a Jew who does a mitzvah will lose out on his parnasa, right? I mean, obviously, there might be times when it seems like we're losing out, but eventually, right? Hashem knows exactly what He wants to give us, and keeping the Torah and mitzvahs will not cause us any loss or any damage. So this next story is what? So this next story, l'chaim. So this next story is one of my favorite stories. All my kids probably heard it 100 times. It's a story involving my great grandfather. I'm not sure actually. No, this is not Eliezer, but this is Rav Meir. Rav Meir, the honest one, right? So Meir was a broker. And he was known by everybody in his city and all the surrounding villages as the honest mayor, right? Mayor, the honest one. Why was he given this name? Because he would buy and sell things, and usually the way businessmen work is when you come to them and you say, "I want to buy something from you," or you want to sell them something, and you give them a price. right? So usually you take out this pencil, you say, listen, I'm going to sell you this pencil. It's an amazing pencil. I'll sell it to you for $100, right? And you go, $100? Are you crazy? It's not worth 1 penny. Right, I'll give you 1 penny for it. And the guy goes back, 1 penny? Fine, I'll give it to you for $80. All right, then no, I'll give you 10 cents for it. And you go back and forth until eventually you meet somewhere in the middle. Right? That's the way business worked in those days. Today, it doesn't. Today, Baruch Hashem, things are a little bit different. Usually, you go to a store.
Is it normal to ask how much did you pay for the seller?
Certainly in those days it was, right? So today, you go to a store, there are set prices. But in those days, in the marketplace, you went to buy something, you got a price, and then you have to argue to try to lower the price a little bit. But Meir was different. Meir, he would come, he would say, this pencil is worth, I don't know, 50 cents? 50 cents. The guy would go, 50 cents? I want it for 25 cents. He would say, not 50 cents. Okay, 30 cents. No, 50 cents. He wouldn't budge. Right? He would give his price. And once he would give the price that he thought was a fair price. And that was the price that he would sell it. You know, take it or leave it. There was no bargaining. He didn't believe in bargaining. Now, all the businessmen in his city did not like doing business with Meir because they liked feeling that they got a deal, right? They came up with a bargain. They didn't like paying the asking price or, getting the asking price when they sold something. But all of the peasants, all the farmers in his area loved going to Meir, right? Because they knew they didn't know what things are supposed to cost, and they don't know how to bargain. That's not this is not what they're very good at. So they liked getting a fair and honest price, and they knew that usually by Meir they got a better price without bargaining than they would get anywhere else with bargaining, right? So he got the title Honest Meir.
Wow.
And Meir, Baruch Hashem, he was very successful. A lot of people, the store was always busy. People would come to buy and sell things. And he would spend all day in his shop. And then after he finished working, he would go to shul and he would die. Of course, he would try to learn a little bit of Torah every day. But, he was busy most of the day. He was busy working. One day, he's in the middle of learning in the class, and he hears that, Hashem gives... all of our parnasa comes from Hashem. And our work is just a vessel, a keli for Hashem's blessing, right? And a person should never think that if you spend a little bit more time in your shop, you're going to make more money. Because Hashem, if you spend a little bit more time learning, you're not going to earn any less money. So when Meir hears this, he decides, if that's the case, why am I wasting my whole day in my shop buying and selling things? Right? Hashem could give me, Hashem could give me if I don't work so much. I can take a little time off. So he thinks about it. He goes home and he tells his wife, from now on, I'm working a half a day. Right? I'm taking half a day to learn and half a day to work. His wife says, sure, we're going to make a lot less money like that. And he says, first of all, Baruch Hashem, we have enough money. We don't need, even if we do need to take a cut, we can afford it. But second of all, it's, if Hashem is giving us the parnasa, he could give me in a half a day the same business that I get a full day, right? So the next day, he gets up, he goes to shul, he davens. After davening, he sits down for some classes. He begins to learn, and he spends the next, 4 or 5 hours in shul learning. And finally, at midday, he goes out to eat lunch, and then he goes to his shop. He comes to his shop in the market, and he sees there's a long line of people waiting in front of his shop. He says, what's going on over here? He said, we're all waiting for you. The honest Meir. We don't want to go to any other shops over here. We're waiting for you. So he comes into the store, and one customer after another, there's a whole line in front of the store. Within like 4 or 5 hours, he did as much business as he usually did in a full day. Right? And this happens the next day. Again, he comes the next day. There's a whole line waiting in front. They all know Meir's new hours. And every day he shows up, and there's a big line of people. And, within a few hours, he did all of his business. Week goes by, and he sits down to make his calculations, how much money he earned that week. And he sees, I made the same amount this week as I made last week. And for a moment, he's very happy. He thinks to himself, it's amazing. I can spend half a day learning, and I don't lose any money. And then he thinks to himself, you know what that means? That means that for the last 10 years, I've wasted half of my time. Wow. Every day I wasted 5 hours. Right? What a loss. What a shame. And then he continues thinking, and he's like, if my morning has been wasted, if I could take off the morning to learn, and Hashem still finds a way to give me money, Why do I need to work in the afternoon? Right? Who says I need to work in the afternoon? So he goes to his wife and he says, tomorrow, taking the full day off. We're going to learn. His wife's like, are you sure? I don't know about this. And he says, listen, Hashem figured out how to give me parnasa when I took off half a day. He can figure out how to do it if I take off the full day. Okay, fine. The next day he goes to shul and he sits all day learning. He comes home, he doesn't make a penny, but he's happy, he trusts in Hashem. Another day goes by, and slowly the money in the house is starting to run out, the food starts running out, but the mayor is pretty confident, he's not worried. And a week later, just a knock on the door, a loud banging on the door of his house. Mayor's wife opens the door, and she sees this Polish peasant standing in front of a wagon, and he says, "Where's honest mayor?" And she says, "Honest mayor? He's busy learning." And she says, "Well, I have something I need to sell him. I need to do some business with him." So she says, "I'm sorry, it's not his hours. He sits and learns all day. He doesn't do business anymore." And he says, "No, I need honest mayor. I have something I need to sell to mayor." She says, "Listen, you got to find a new store. Mayor closed down. We closed down our business." And he says, No. I need honest mayor. When is he going to be home?" At night. He comes home after he spends all day learning. He'll be home at night. Okay, he's going to wait. Right? So the peasant waits till mayor comes home at night. And he says, "Mayor, I've been waiting for you for the last few hours. I have something I need to sell you. I need to sell to you." And mayor's like, there are 30 other stores in the marketplace. You can go somewhere else. You can find a different broker to buy it from you. And he says, No, I need you. "Why do you need me?" So he says, "Listen, I chop wood for a living. And today, as I was chopping down a tree in the forest, I found in the tree a large beehive."
What is it?
A large beehive.
Bees.
Bees. Right? And I sell wood. I don't sell bees. I don't sell honey. I don't know how to extract the honey from the hive. So I chopped down the whole tree stump. I dumped it in my wagon and I brought it to you. I know you're going to give me a good price for the honey. Okay, fine. Mayor goes out to the wagon. He says, "Listen, I'm not opening my shop. I'm not going back to my store. But if somebody comes to my house and wants to sell me something, I'm okay with that." Right? He goes out to the wagon. And he looks at the tree. He starts picking this big whole trunk of a tree in the wagon. He starts measuring it, weighing it. This huge beehive. And he starts estimating how much honey is there. And he gives the guy a price. And the guy's very happy. It's a great price. "Mayor, I knew you're the honest mayor. I knew you would give me the best price." And Mayor says, "A little problem. I don't have any money, but I'll try to borrow some money." He goes around from his neighbors. He borrows the money. And he gives the guy the money. The guy, drives off, very happy. He got a good deal. And Mayor's wife, Mayor and his wife bring the beehive into the house. And Mayor's wife opens it up and starts taking out the honey. Right? She's going to take it to the market and sell it. If her husband doesn't want to do business, she can handle it. Right? So she peels off one layer of a honeycomb, whatever it is, and starts taking out the honey. She takes another layer. Then she gets to the third layer, and suddenly she calls out. She says, "Mayor, come here." Mayor comes here. She says, "It's all empty. It's hollow inside. We got ripped off." And the mayor looks inside, and it looked like a huge beehive, but instead there's like a few layers. I don't know exactly how beehives work. I'm not an expert in this field, but it was mostly empty. And the mayor says, "It can't be. I weighed the tree trunk, and there's got to be something there." So they pull away the beehive, they pull out the bottom of the beehive, and they find a hidden treasure. And Baruch Hashem, Meir never had to work for the rest of his life, and he was able to spend the rest of his life learning. He became one of the students of the Baal Shem Tov, and he became known as Rav Meir HaGadol of Premishlan, Meir the Great of Premishlan. His grandson was the famous Rebbe, Rav Meir of Premishlan was his grandson, and me and my children are his great grandchildren.
What kind?
Kind.
But in such a case, Should you give something to the
No,
seller?
he paid him. He paid him, man.
He paid him. I'm not. It could be he did. I don't know. The story doesn't say what happened with the seller. I'm not sure. He might have given him a cut.
Was it goy or a Jew?
As far as I know, it was a guy, but I don't think the story specifies who it
Yeah,
was.
I don't-
But
that's
I mean,
maybe
he had already
different.
given him a
Right.
price. He gave him a price. The guy, they agreed on a deal. I don't think he had any halachic obligation to give him. If he wanted to give him a gift, that was his choice. The story doesn't say what he did. So obviously, it's a very important lesson for us. Most of us, l'chaim, are not on the level
No.
of Meir the Honest One. We said, I think 2 weeks ago, we discussed a story about the clay dealer, right? Not everybody was on the level that they're able to completely trust in Hashem. But each and every one of us have situations in our life where we have to make a choice, right? We have an option to daven with a minyan or to go to an important business deal, right? And we have to realize that
That's right.
a person who chooses to follow the Torah, to do what Hashem tells us, is not going to lose out in his business, right? Hashem's going to make sure that you don't lose anything by doing the right thing. In the city of Ostra, I'm not sure what city that is. I have a Yiddish book over here. The city of Ostra. Anybody knows what Ostra is? I assume it's
Sound
somewhere
like
in
Ostrach
Austria.
cookies.
What?
Sound like Ostrach cookies.
But in the city of Ostra,
Australia.
there were 3 great tzaddikim who were all, this was in times of the Baal Shem Tov, these were students of the Baal Shem Tov. The rabbi of the city was Reb Meir Margolius. The Maggid of the city was known as Reb Yaakov Yosef, the Yaiva. And Reb Pinchas of Karetz at that time lived in the city of Ostra. And one year on Shavuos night, they were sitting together and they were learning together. Shavuos night, and they were discussing Shavuos. And they were discussing the customs and the customs of Shavuos. And one of the customs of Shavuos is that we decorate the shul. Today, the shuls are decorated with flowers. That's the modern custom that's done. In those days, they would put grass in the shul. If you look back in the history of the minhag, it put grass in the shul. Flowers, I think, is a more modern minhag, twist on the minhag, right? So the minhag to put grass in the shul, and there are different reasons. Our Sinai was covered in grass, but even though it was in the middle of the desert, so these 3 Talmidei Chacham are discussing it.
There's also flowers at her semester.
What?
There's also flowers at her semester.
It doesn't say flowers. So there was grass, and these 3 Talmidei Chacham are discussing why do you put grass? Why do you decorate the shul with grass? And Rav Pinchas of Karetz turns to the other 2 rabbis, and he says, "Let's go ask Rab Hirsch.
Who's at her?
Let's go ask Rab Hirsch."
Who's at her?
And the other 2 rabbis say, "Who's Rab Hirsch?" And he says, "Hirsch, he lives at the end of the city." And they say, "Hirsch, why should we go to Hirsch?" And he says, "Well, Hirsch, he reveals to his 2 friends, I was told by the Baal Shem Tov." What time is it?
7:55. 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So we'll finish with the story and then we'll stop. So I was told by the Baal Shem Tov that Hirsch is a tzaddik nister, is a hidden tzaddik.
Sorry about that.
So maybe he could enlighten us about this minute. So they go to Hirsch's house, and Hirsch is sitting and learning Shavuos night, and they say, maybe you could give us some insight into this minhag of putting grass all over the shoulder. So he says to them, Hirsch says to them like this. He says, the Gemara, let's find the source over here. The Gemara in Eruvin tells us a story about Rab Ada bar Masna.
There's sports on
Rab Ada bar Masna, one second, here it is. Okay. So Rab Ada bar Masna decided that he wants to go to yeshiva to learn Torah. And the yeshiva was very far away from where he lived, so he'd have to leave his house for a period of time. And his wife turns to him and she says, you're planning to leave and go to yeshiva, what are we going to eat? Right? I don't know how many children he had. He had a wife and a few children. And she says to him, what are we going to eat when you're gone? So the Gemara says that he turned to his wife and he says, Mish limu kurmi ba'agma. Isn't there enough grass in the field? And his wife says, oh, you're right. There certainly is enough grass. And he went off to yeshiva.
Next, what we gotta get?
He went off to learn. So this is a bit of a difficult Gemara, l'chaim, right? That doesn't seem like a very good answer. What does it mean? Isn't there enough grass in the field? Right? People don't eat grass. So Rab Hirsch answered the question like this. He says there's another Gemara in Kiddushin where Rab Shimon ben Elazar declared. He said, I have never seen a deer drying fruit, working as a fruit dryer. I guess that was a job in those days. I've never seen a lion schlepping stuff, working as a porter. I've never seen a fox open a shop, open a business. Have you ever walked into a shop and found a fox as a shopkeeper? I've never seen that in my life. Yet somehow, even though they don't work all day, they don't have jobs, somehow they all have their food. Hashem manages to give them all the food they need, right? So why is it that me, if I want to have parnasa, I got to find myself a job and work all day, and the animals don't have to get a job? They eat the grass from the field, they get everything they need from Hashem. What?
Uncooked.
So he says. So he continues. The Gemara continues. Rav Shimon Elazar says the reason is that really, if Adam Arishan would not have eaten from the Eitz Hadas, people wouldn't have to work. We would walk out in the field and we would find all the food that we need, just like many of the animals do. But unfortunately, Adam didn't trust in Hashem. He ate from the Eitz Hadas, and therefore we have to go out and work for our living. But really, if we trust in Hashem, Hashem could give us our food just like He gives grass for the animals. So this, says Rav Hirsch, is the answer that Rav Ada Bar Masna was giving his wife. He was telling his wife, there's plenty of grass in the field, right? The sheep can go outside and they have all the food they want. Don't you think Hashem can give us food, right? Why don't we have food? Because we didn't listen to Hashem, right? But if we trust in Hashem, Hashem is going to find a way to give us everything we need. And this, says Rav Hirsch, is why we put grass out in the fields, in the shul on Shavuos, right? The Yidden are about to get the Torah, and they have a big problem. We're all ready to accept the Torah every year, but we have a problem. We have 613 mitzvahs. How are we going to earn a living keeping all these mitzvahs? Right? How are we going to live in this world? To raise a family, send our children to yeshiva. Everybody see the tuition prices these days, right? The government decides to give a grant, and suddenly all the tuition prices go up by a few $1,000s, right?
That's a great idea. I'm going to tell court.
So it's crazy. How are we supposed to keep the Torah? So on Shavuos, we put grass all over the shul. So, there's plenty of grass in the field. Hashem wants to give us food. He can give us whatever we need. And this is why the 7 weeks before Shavuos is called the Omer. Before Hashem gave the Jewish people the Torah, He took them out into the desert and He gave them man from heaven. What was He telling them? He was telling them, you're about to get the Torah and you're worried, how are you going to earn a living? How are you able to live in this world by keeping all these mitzvahs? So don't worry, I'm going to give you food from heaven. And for the first 40 years that the Yidden kept the Torah, they got food from heaven, water out of the rock, their clothes were washed, miraculously. And this went on for 40 years until they came into Eretz Yisrael. And even when they came into Eretz Yisrael, for the first, 40 days, they had plenty of food, right? They had leftover man, until the 16th day of Nisan. The 16th day of Nisan is when the man ran out. And they had to start eating the wheat of Eretz Yisrael. And it was a problem. They might forget that their parnasa comes from Hashem. So Hashem came along and He established a special carbon on the 16th day of Nisan. That's the carbon Omer. What is an Omer? We said throughout the Torah there's no such thing as an Omer. It's called an Isarin. That's the name of the measurement. A Sirius Ha'efa. But there are 2 places where it's called an Omer. The first place is when the Jewish people got the man from heaven. The Jewish people were told to collect an omer. What is an omer? The Torah tells us an omer is the exact amount of food that a person needs a day, every day. Right? The people got exactly what they needed. This new measurement was created. This measurement, omer, represents exactly what we need to eat on a daily basis.
1,000-calorie diet.
Whatever the amount is. An omer of man. So Hashem says, I want you to call this carbon omer. I want you to remember that the exact amount of food that you need was given to you until now from Hashem through the man. Now it's being given to you by Hashem through the ground, through whatever work you do. That is all a tool, a vessel to get Hashem's blessing. And this is why the carbon was called Omer, to remind us about the exact measurement that the Yidden got. And that's why this whole time period before Shavuos is called an Omer. Hashem wants every one of us to realize as we're getting ready to accept the Torah, to accept the Torah that Hashem gave us, and we think to ourselves, if we have all these mitzvahs that we have to keep, who's going to take care of us? right? Who's going to take care of us? If I go to shul, how am I gonna get the best deals in the marketplace? So the Torah tells us the 7 weeks before Shavuos are called the Omer. I want you to remember that the Omer is the exact amount of food that you need, and the Omer is what the Jewish people got from heaven every day in the desert. And a Jew who trusts in Hashem should know that there's plenty of grass in the field. Hashem manages to give food to the animals. Hashem could give us food as well. Chaim.
Followers, this usually doesn't happen on Thursday.